Game Beard.
Hi friends, welcome to the paper decal tutorial episode where I show you how to use paper decals for your battle mechs or any other models, miniatures that you want to use them for. Now, at gamebeard.com you can get you can just download a sheet of kind of generic decals. Now, before we get into this though, I want to say, I totally get it. Real decals are better than paper decals. It's just that paper decals are cheaper because you can print them out and you can get a lot of them in case you need to do hundreds of models like me. And they are useful for real itty bitty decals. Like, I don't think you could get little itty bitty decals with regular water slide decals. I don't even think that's possible. And if it is, it's probably even more difficult than what I'm going to show you. But what I'm going to show you is possible. Like, you could do it. It's just challenging, and I show you tips on how to do it. So let's get into the video portion where we look at some of my models and I show you how to do it. Here you can see my printed paper decals, and I have different sizes of checkers and warning stripes. I usually go for the middle size, but I have big and small in case you need it. I also have different sizes of these basic warning labels. I got big, medium, and small. I tend to go medium. Here are some different decals that I just made in Illustrator, and they're pretty generic, but they work really good. Okay, so we're going to look at one of my finished mechs. So here's like a Comstar mech, and you'll notice I have a lot of checkers. I have numbers, and I have like that Comstar badge too. So, but you don't get those because it's hard to match those. Like, there's like a white background, you know? And so it's hard for me to predict what colors you're going to use. But anyways, you're going to get the checkers and stuff you're just going to cut out. Here you can see on the side, I'm going to point to some of the stuff. Let's see here. So I have checkers, there's a little red warning label that I'm pointing at, checkers. And then I even have some kill markers. You can see those black and white kill markers on the claw. What do we have back here? Here we can see, this is funny. So there's a little warning label, but it looks like there's a little bit of another label at the bottom of that. I'm noticing that for the first time. That decal is so tiny you wouldn't normally see that. Here you can see on my number 309, you can see the cutout of that decal. But, well, I mean, you can see it super close up in this video, but I promise you that on the battlefield, or when I just put that on the board, like, you can't even see that with the naked eye, or at least my old eyes. Oh, there I'm pointing to the kill marks. So when you cut these things out, oh, here you'll see. So watch, I'll show you. So here's Kellhound's Archer, and you can really see around that number 3 and the Kellhound sigil. There's some more kill markers, but around the number 3 and that Kellhound symbol, you can see the cutout of the decal. But that's only because I'm zoomed in super close with a real nice camera. When I look at this with my bare eyes, you cannot see that stuff. So yeah, real close up with a fancy camera. Here you can see that on the leg, that checker's at an angle. It's like at a different angle. But again, that decal is so tiny you don't even notice that it's it's askew, right? But there's some different decals for Kellhound's color scheme. I use a lot of those checkers. I don't think they normally use a lot of checkers like that. But I like the checkers. I like the checkers to represent damage, and they haven't repainted it yet, so they just have like the checker tape over the damage, and then they're going to go back and paint it. That's what I like. Here's some more decals I'm pointing at. I got some, kill marks, and a lot of little, I stick them on the barrel. These are really tiny. That's a nice one, that little red and white one. Again, I have numbers, and I have clan faction badge there. I was able to match my gray pretty good. It's not 100% perfect, but when you put it on the table, you can't notice. Here's some more little warning decals. So you'll have access to these warning decals. Wow, look at that mold line. Whew! You don't even see that mold line normally. It's just this model is so, it's like under a microscope right now. It's pretty funny. Trust me, I promise you. You're like, I don't want to put those decals. You can totally see the edges. No, you can't. They're tiny. So there's another one. Yeah, decals. These are just really small. They look kind of imperfect, zoomed in super close, but when, like I said, this is under a microscope. When they're really small, you can't even, it just looks like a little, it's like a hint of a warning label. Okay, let's look at this Highlander. Oh, another thing I want to mention, notice how I paint like burn marks on some of my decals to kind of blend them in with the paint job. I do that a lot, and so you may have noticed, see on that number 7 on top of his head, I kind of painted like a dirt smudge on it, and it just helps it blend in more naturally with a weathered mech, and it helps those decals feel more, I guess, real, quote unquote, right? But here you can see I got some warning labels. They're really tiny. You know, put them on wherever I can fit them. Obviously, you can fit these better on a larger mech. Smaller mechs, it's hard to fit them in. Sometimes you can. I mean, I got real itty bitty ones you can try to fit, but sometimes they just don't have a flat space to put a decal. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. But the bigger mechs usually have more room to do that. Okay, so here is my Scout, and here you can see I already have a couple decals already put on this guy, but I'm going to demonstrate how to prep and do some of these decals, and you'll see how challenging it can be, but if you're careful and follow my tips, it is possible. I've had a lot of practice. Oh, and here's another, it's like, I think it's a Hermes. Is it Hermes 2? So, but anyways, he's from the new Mercenaries collection of. I got a couple decals on his back calves, really small, and they're kind of big compared to that mech, so I don't know. Okay, so here's my sheet of decals, and I'm going to cut some out. When I cut them out, you want to leave some, you'll notice I'm going to cut and leave some white at the bottom of that set of decals, because you want to have a little extra paper to hold on to. You know, you need to hold on to the paper while you're cutting out some of these decals, and you'll see soon enough why I do it this way. But you want to leave for yourself a little bit of white on the bottom so you can kind of pinch and hold whatever, the example of decal you're cutting out. I'm going to cut out some of these guys, cut out a little variety here. I have a little gray along the edges of some of these decals so that if you don't cut them out perfectly, it won't be like a white edge. It'll be kind of like a gray. It'll blend in a little better. Okay. Oh, and then I'm going to do, yeah, so here, I guess I'm going to show that to you. There they are. And then I'm going to cut out some of these warning stripes. Because I didn't have any decal, or I didn't have any models at the moment, or I didn't find any good ones to show you with some examples of these. I had plenty of checkers, so I'm not going to do checkers. I'm going to cut out this medium one. I tend to like the medium ones better, but I do have larger and I do have smaller examples of these. I feel like, you know, you may like the smaller ones. I think the smaller ones are a little too small, but maybe you have a need for it, so I don't know. You can choose. Okay, here we go. I got to trim that. I got to trim off that white. The nice thing about the checkers and the warning stripes is you can cut these as big or as small as you need them to be. This is just a big, you know, pattern of that stuff. So I'm going to cut out some of my stripes here to about the size that I think I need. So I need something about this size. And sometimes you have to retrim it. Yeah, see here I'm going to measure. So that looks about right for that. So I'm going to trim it. You want to have a decent pair of scissors. I have this pair of scissors, and I have like a hobby scissors that's a little smaller. But here you can see I'm going to very carefully try to trim it. I let it fall. It's going to fall to my cardboard there. There it is. It's tiny. And then sometimes when I'm cutting a lot, they'll like fall all over my hands. I'll just kind of brush them off. Now to pick these things up, you can't even pick them up. You have to use a new X-Acto blade that's kind of sharp, and you'll kind of poke it. Otherwise, there's no way you're going to pick those things up with your hands. That's the tricky part. So yeah, oh, and then sometimes they flip over. So you have to like, I usually flip them all over first before I start gluing them on. And you'll see, I'll do that shortly. Okay, I'm cutting off that excess. Here we go. Okay. Trying to get, sometimes you can't get it perfect, but you can get pretty close. Trimming off some extra white. Okay, now I'm going to cut off my first row. Oh no, I'm not. I'm trimming. Okay, now I'm going to cut off my first row of these red warning labels. I'm cutting them real careful. Notice how I left a little bit of white so that I can hold it when I get to the end of all those red. Now this is where you got to be tricky. So I'm lining it up. I got my little hobby scissors and I'm just going to cut them one after the other. I'm going to kind of feed them in and cut. Now believe it or not, these are hard to see. It's easier to see on my camera here, but these are real tiny. You almost have to like squint, or I don't know, like you can't blink when you do this stuff. It's kind of ridiculous, and I totally get it. It's not easy. But here I can see, luckily, I'm doing a pretty good job. These decals are a little bigger than the others. These are ones I made in Illustrator. Okay, now, notice how they're like they flipped over the wrong way. So I'm gonna position these to be the correct side before I get all my glue ready. I usually do this, like I'll trim a bunch of these. Like I'll usually do one decal at a time. I'll do this like red decal, I'll do a bunch. And then I'll have like maybe 10 or 20 mechs ready, and I'll just kind of glue this one decal. Like I'll have like maybe 30 of these, you know, little decals ready, and I'll have like 10 mechs ready, and I'll just glue like 2 to 4 of these on each mech, and I go to the next mech. Anyways, I'm going to use this toothpick to get, this is wood glue, or not wood glue, this is Elmer's glue, just white glue. And I smear on the glue. You don't want to do too much, but here you'll see, I'm gonna add a little bit of glue there where I'm gonna put my decal. And I usually do 2, 3, or 4 decals at a time. So like I'm going to put the glue, you know, in 2 spots here, but sometimes I do like 3 or 4 spots before I start gluing them on. Okay, now I got my X-Acto blade. I'm going to poke my decal so that I can pick it up. And then I'm going to very carefully try to position it and stick it in the glue. Okay, I got it. Sometimes you have to adjust it with your X-Acto blade. Sometimes you can use a finger. But it looks good. Then I'm going to just press down. Notice that I followed the curve when I was pressing down, and it will follow a curve nicely, better than you think. So these things will they'll bend and curve because they're paper, and it works pretty good. Okay, I'm going to do the one on the chest here. Let's see. Okay. Yep. I'm trying to adjust it there, and then I'm going to press down once I get it. Notice that I was like there'll be glue on your fingers. That's why I was kind of rubbing my fingers trying to get off the excess glue. But there it is. I got it on. Okay, I need one more. I think I'm trying to figure out where I want to put that third one, but I decided to put it on his leg so that those warning stripes kind of become a motif on the right side of his body, and your eye kind of follows it, so that's kind of nice. So anyways, I'm sticking that on. Okay, and then I'm going to press it down. Yeah, cleaning my fingers again, if that even helps. Good, I got it. So there you can see, not bad. I got some warning stripes. Later I might paint some gunk on it, but not a lot. Just I'll paint a little bit of gunk to blend it in. Okay, I got my Hermes here, and oh, I'm going to try to apply some of those red decals onto this I don't know, what is this? It's like the top of his foot. Okay, I have them already down there. I'm just going to poke one, and then I'm going to stick it on. Sometimes you'll cut these decals and they're not very good, so don't worry. Just don't feel like you have to use them if you cut one incorrectly. Just don't use it and just throw it away. You'll cut plenty of these guys, and you can always print more. So sometimes like a few of them are just no good, like when you're cutting them. You just pick the good ones. Pick the good ones. Okay, so I think I need to adjust this. I'm going to try to adjust it using my X-Acto blade. You know, it's like, you're probably thinking, it doesn't look so bad, Dave. How come you're having such a hard time? Because my camera is like a microscope. This is like so tiny, and I get it. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm like, it's not easy. And so I understand if you're like, this is really hard, Dave. Okay, I get it. But just practice. I don't know, give it a try. Some will work better than others. And there they are. You see, that one's not perfect. But I promise you, on the table, it'll look fine. Okay, there we go. So not bad. Tiny little detail. Trust me, it looks better than to paint it. You're like, how come you just don't paint it? No, it looks better. Like with the little red outline and the little red wording in the middle. It looks better than just trying to paint it. And if you're doing like 40 of them, it's faster. Like you just cut out 40 of those little decals, get your 10 mechs ready, and you just put the glue on. You do like a few at a time. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna add some here. And then I'm gonna try to figure out where I wanna glue my next one. There's not a lot of space on this, gosh, what is this guy called? The hoplite? I think this is the hoplite. So I'm trying to figure out where to put it, and finally I decide, oh, I'm just gonna put it on the leg right here. Bigger mechs will have bigger empty spaces where you can glue these decals on, and it's pretty cool. Okay, here we go. A little out of focus, but you'll soon see. Trying to get it in there. And then I'm gonna glue it. Oh yeah, and I'm adjusting. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there it's almost there. There, yeah, I nudged it up a little. These are really small. So yeah, use a brand new X-Acto blade. If you have like a dull X-Acto blade, it's not gonna poke them. It's not gonna work. So you gotta just have a new X-Acto blade ready, and you can use it to poke these things. Okay, final adjustment here, and I'm gonna press it down. Sometimes the glue will get on your finger and it'll just peel off. Like you'll get excess glue like on your finger and it just be kind of gross. Sometimes there'll be a little extra glue on the decals, like from your finger. And then it'll kind of rub off, or just kind of, you can just kind of brush it off. There we go, we got some decals. Those are really small. Okay, okay, now I'm gonna do a real tiny one, like it's a little box one. It's like the little nuclear warning sign or fission sign. I don't know, it's something. It's a little box. It's tiny. It's so tiny you'll barely be able to see it, but let's try. Again, I cut those out ahead of time, and now I'm trying to position it there. It's really small. So small I can barely see these in real life. Like, yeah, I'm trying to show you right now. Oh, well, it comes in and out of focus. It's so small. There, yeah, okay, I'm gonna push it in though. Oh no, I'm gonna adjust. These are kind of nice though. These are nice. They're small, but they're nice. Use them occasionally. Okay, I'm going to press it in there. Okay. Can you see it? You might be able to see it briefly amongst the focusing. Oh, you almost saw it there, but anyways, it's there. I'm going to show you an easier one. So here's an easier one to see, and you can kind of see it. Looks nice. Put it on his leg. Okay. I'm going to put another one of those on this clan mech. So I got my glue. Again, I'm going to poke one of those. Now some of those I cut out were not good, so I'm just finding a good one, right? Those are hard to cut out because they're smaller. So I found a decent one, and then I'm gonna glue this thing on. This actually does have a top and bottom because it looks like there's a little red line on the bottom of that, or at least I'm considering that the bottom. I mean, it could be the top. But anyways, glue it on. It doesn't really matter. It's such a tiny little detail. It doesn't matter if it's top or bottom. But I'm gonna, there you go. You can see it. It looks like it's the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Looks good. Tiny. Well, that's the end of this video. We talked about decals, talked about the difficulty of doing it, but give it a try. You can download the decal sheet at my website, gamebeard.com. Give it a try. Hopefully in the future, Catalyst will just put like a sizable decal sheet in with their mechs. That would be awesome. That would be much preferable to like a painted mech. Like, I don't like paying extra money for that mech. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But Catalyst, if you're listening, give me a sizable decal sheet in future Lance boxes. That would be the bee's knees. I would be super stoked on a decal sheet. But in the meantime, you guys can definitely try out my paper decals, and I hope it ups your game for your miniatures, and I hope you have a good time. And I'll see you in the next video.